Hidden beneath the soil of America lie mountains of gold, ancient artifacts, and lost fortunes that vanished without a trace. For centuries, treasure hunters, historians, and even governments have tried to uncover these secrets. But why do they keep disappearing, and what forces protect them? In this video, we are diving into the untold stories of America as lost treasures to uncover the truth behind the gold, the secrets, and the history that time tried to erase. From the legendary treasures of outlaws like Jesse James, to mysterious caches left by Spanish explorers, and even rumored gold shipments lost during wartime, America's land is filled with hidden riches. But these aren't just tales of greed. They are keys to understanding forgotten moments in American history. Each missing fortune tells a story of ambition, betrayal, and sometimes a curse. Today, we'll uncover 6 of the most mysterious and historically rich treasure tales across America, and reveal why, despite centuries of searching, they remain undiscovered. The year was 1865. The American Civil War had torn the nation apart for 4 long, bloody years. Cities lay in ruins, the Confederate Army was collapsing, and the dream of a Southern nation was dying. But as Union troops closed in, one final desperate act was set into motion: the evacuation of the Confederate treasury. Gold, silver, and priceless jewels worth millions in today's U.S. value were loaded into wagons and set on a secret journey southward. That gold was never seen again. What happened next has become one of the most enduring mysteries in American history: the legend of the lost Confederate gold. According to historical accounts, in the chaotic final days of the war, Confederate President Jefferson Davis ordered that what remained of the Confederate treasury be moved out of Richmond, Virginia, before the city fell to Union forces. The treasure, said to include gold bullion, silver coins, and even church donations, was loaded into wagons under armed guard. The convoy headed south, traveling by night through rough terrain, evading capture, and constantly changing routes to stay one step ahead of Union pursuers. But as the Confederate government disintegrated, so too did the chain of command. Soldiers deserted, the guards scattered, and with them, the treasure disappeared into legend. Some say the wagons were ambushed by bandits, the gold buried hastily in fear, never to be recovered. Others claim loyal Confederate soldiers hid it to prevent it from falling into Union hands, vowing to return for it when the South rose again. But no one ever did. Over the decades that followed, reports began surfacing. Gold coins unearthed near the Chattahoochee River, strange carvings on rocks near Danville, and cryptic letters found in the belongings of former Confederate officers. Each discovery only deepened the mystery. Was the Confederate gold scattered in many places, or is it still lying untouched, buried somewhere in the southern soil? One popular theory places the treasure in Georgia. In 1865, witnesses claimed to have seen heavily guarded wagons arriving in Washington, Georgia, the last official meeting place of the Confederate cabinet. There, Jefferson Davis allegedly distributed some of the gold to pay soldiers and aides, while the rest vanished overnight. Some say Davis's guards buried it nearby. Others believe it was smuggled west toward Alabama or even Texas. In one particularly persistent story, the treasure was dumped into the depths of Lake Michigan during an attempt to move it north for safekeeping, an idea so wild, yet so symbolic of how far the legend has traveled. But there's another side to this mystery, one that takes it beyond mere gold and silver. Some historians believe that the Confederate treasury was more than just money. It was a key to something larger. Secret societies that existed in the South during and after the war, such as the Knights of the Golden Circle, are rumored to have taken possession of the treasure, using it to fund covert operations and rebuild Confederate influence underground. These claims may sound like fiction, but coded messages and hidden caches discovered across the South seem to suggest otherwise. Some treasure hunters have found old maps marked with strange Masonic symbols, believed to point to burial sites of hidden gold left by Confederate loyalists. Even the U.S. government has been drawn into the hunt. Over the years, multiple investigations and private expeditions have attempted to locate the missing gold. In one modern case, treasure hunters in Pennsylvania claim to have found evidence of a large deposit of gold buried deep beneath the ground in Dent's Run, a remote forest area. The FBI arrived, took over the site, and conducted an excavation under the cover of darkness. Days later, they left without explanation. The agency claimed nothing was found, but locals reported trucks leaving the area late at night, guarded by federal agents. Was it just another dead end, or had the lost Confederate gold finally been found? The legend, S-Power, lies in how it intertwines with America, as has history, a symbol of greed, pride, and the ghosts of a nation divided. Every time someone digs into the past, hoping to find gold, they end up uncovering something deeper, the hidden truths about who we were and how far people were willing to go to preserve their ideals. For many treasure hunters, it's not about the gold anymore. It's about solving a puzzle that's defied historians for more than a century. Each clue brings more questions. Why did witnesses give conflicting accounts? Why do some records vanish just when researchers get close? Could powerful families or secret networks still be guarding what's left of that treasure today? And if it truly exists, what would its discovery mean for America's past and its present? The story of the lost Confederate gold isn't just about riches buried in the ground. It's about a chapter of history that refuses to stay buried, whispering to those daring enough to keep searching. Long before America became a nation, long before the stars and stripes flew over the land, the soil of Texas was said to glitter with secrets of Spanish gold. Deep in the rugged wilderness near the San Saba River, legends tell of hidden mines rich with veins of silver and gold, a treasure so vast it could have changed the destiny of empires. But just as suddenly as it was found, it vanished into the dust of history, leaving behind a mystery that has haunted explorers, treasure hunters, and historians for centuries. This is the legend of the lost San Saba mines. The story begins in the mid-1700s when Spanish missionaries and soldiers ventured into what is now central Texas. Their mission was twofold: to spread Christianity among the native tribes and to uncover the mineral wealth that had been rumored for generations. Local tribes told tales of shining rocks hidden in the hills, and the Spanish crown, always hungry for gold and silver, took notice. In 1757, the Spanish established the Mission Santa Cruz de San Saba near present-day Menard, Texas. It was intended as both a spiritual
outpost and a base for mining operations that would supposedly bring unimaginable riches to Spain. But greed and faith make uneasy companions. The mission was built on sacred native land, and tensions grew quickly between the missionaries, soldiers, and the Apache and Comanche tribes who roamed the region. Within a year, disaster struck. In 1758, a massive Comanche war party attacked and burned the San Saba mission to the ground, killing nearly everyone inside. The surviving soldiers fled back to Mexico, leaving behind ruins, broken dreams, and the whispers of a mine that was said to exist somewhere nearby. After the destruction of the mission, rumors began to spread like wildfire. Survivors spoke of miners who had smuggled out gold or before the attack. Some claimed that the Spanish priests had hidden large quantities of gold in the caves near the mission, sealing them before they died. Others said the mines were never real, merely a fable used by the Spanish to justify their expansion. But for treasure hunters, it didn't matter. The legend had already taken root. In the 1800s, as settlers pushed westward, tales of the lost San Saba mines resurfaced. Prospectors claimed to have found traces of old Spanish smelting furnaces and tools buried beneath the Texas soil. One traveler reported seeing shining stones scattered near the river after a heavy storm, while another found mysterious symbols carved into rocks, believed to be Spanish markers pointing the way to hidden veins of gold. Dozens of expeditions followed, but none found the fabled mine. Some returned empty-handed. Others never returned at all. One of the most enduring parts of the San Saba mystery comes from the story of Jim Bowie, the legendary frontiersman who would later die at the Alamo. Before his days as a folk hero, Bowie was obsessed with the idea of the lost mines. In the 1820s, he and his brother Rezin led multiple expeditions into the San Saba Hills, armed with old Spanish maps and a fierce determination to find the treasure. They scoured the canyons, followed ancient trails, and even unearthed what they believed to be Spanish mining tools. But just when they thought they were close, they were ambushed by a large group of native warriors. Bowie barely escaped with his life, and the mines slipped back into myth once again. Through the years, new clues kept surfacing. Old journals written by Spanish friars hinted at hidden riches. In the 1900s, ranchers in the area uncovered strange stone markings shaped like crosses and arrows, leading some to believe the treasure was buried under the ruins of the mission itself. Modern treasure hunters have used metal detectors, sonar imaging, and even drones to search the terrain. Some claim to have found fragments of smelted silver, while others discovered man-made tunnels deep underground. Yet, despite all the technology and effort, no one has ever found the actual mine. What makes the San Saba mystery so captivating is that it blends faith, conquest, and greed into a single, haunting story. The Spanish came with divine purpose but were driven by the lure of gold. The mission fell, but the legend endured, passed down from generation to generation. Some say the gold was real but was hidden away by the Spaniards before they fled. Others believe that the mine lies cursed, protected by the spirits of those who perished in the attack, guarding it from any who seek it. And then there are those who claim that the mine never existed at all, that it was an illusion born from desperation, a myth created to lure men into an unforgiving wilderness that offered only death. Yet there's something about the Texas landscape that keeps the story alive. The wind that whistles through the San Saba Hills seems to carry the echo of Spanish voices. The ruins of the mission still stand, weathered, silent, and shrouded in mystery. Locals say that on quiet nights, when the moonlight hits the stones just right, you can almost see the glint of gold where the friars once walked. Historians continue to debate the truth while treasure seekers keep returning, chasing a dream that refuses to die. The lost San Saba mines are more than just a story about buried gold. They represent a collision between belief and ambition, between those who sought to save souls and those who sought to fill their pockets. And somewhere beneath the dust and legend of Texas, the truth still waits, glittering, silent, and hidden by time. In the early 1800s, a stranger rode into the quiet town of Lynchburg, Virginia, carrying with him a mystery that would puzzle generations. His name was Thomas J. Beale, a man whose origins were as uncertain as his intentions. He arrived with little fanfare, yet his presence would soon ignite one of the greatest unsolved treasure mysteries in American history. The legend claims that Beale discovered a fortune in gold and silver deep in the mountains of Virginia and left behind 3 coded messages, revealing its location, the contents, and the names of those who shared in the find. But more than 2 centuries later, no one has cracked the full code, and no one has found the treasure. This is the enigma of the Beale ciphers, a riddle buried in time. The story begins in 1817. When Thomas Beale supposedly led a group of about 30 men on a hunting expedition to the western frontier in what is now New Mexico. During their journey, they stumbled upon a rich deposit of gold and silver. According to legend, they mined the treasure for years, packing mules with hundreds of pounds of precious metal and gemstones. When they decided to return east, Beale took charge of transporting a portion of the hoard back to Virginia. There, near the town of Bedford, he buried the treasure in a secret vault, a fortune estimated to be worth over $60 million in today's terms. Before leaving again for the frontier, Beale entrusted a locked iron box to a local innkeeper named Robert Morris's. Beale told him that the box contained documents of great importance and that if he did not return within 10 years, Morris's was to open it. Beale then vanished, never to be seen again. Years passed, and when the decade expired, Morris's finally opened the box. Inside were 3 papers written entirely in numbers, pages filled with sequences like 115, 44, 506, 318. And no clear meaning. These were the Beale ciphers. The first cipher supposedly detailed the location of the treasure. The second described the contents of the vault. The third listed the names and families of the men who discovered it. Morrises, unable to decipher the codes, kept them for years before passing them on to a friend, who later published them in a pamphlet in 1885. That pamphlet, called the Beale Papers, set off one of the most famous treasure hunts in American history. Of the three ciphers, only one, the second, has ever been decoded. And the key to solving it came from an unexpected source, the Declaration of Independence. When researchers applied the text of the Declaration as a cipher key, the numbers revealed a chillingly detailed message describing the treasure's contents: thousands of pounds of gold, silver, and jewels buried in a stone vault in Bedford County. But the other two ciphers, including the one that reveals the exact location, have resisted every effort at decryption. Over the decades, cryptographers, mathematicians, and even the CIA have attempted to crack the Beale codes. Some have tried computer algorithms, pattern recognition, and linguistic models, yet none have succeeded. Every few years, new theories emerge. Some believe Beale used a different historical document as the key, perhaps the U.S. Constitution or the Bible. Others suggest the entire story was an elaborate hoax, written by someone in the 1880s to sell pamphlets to gullible treasure hunters. Yet the strange consistency in Beale's letters, the mathematical patterns in the numbers, and the enduring mystery of his disappearance keep the story alive. Treasure hunters have flocked to Bedford County for generations, digging through fields, caves, and even graveyards. Locals tell tales of mysterious strangers showing up with shovels and maps, vanishing as quickly as they came. Some claim to have found tunnels and stone vaults, while others say they've uncovered fragments of old mining tools. There are even rumors of people finding gold coins and Spanish artifacts in the area, fueling the idea that something really was buried there long ago. But perhaps the greatest fascination with the Beale mystery lies in the gold itself. It's the puzzle. The ciphers represent more than hidden wealth. They're a challenge to human intellect, a battle between man and mystery. How could one man in the 1820s have created a code so advanced that even modern computers can solve it? And if Beale truly existed, how did he expect anyone to find the treasure without revealing the key? Some historians speculate that Beale may have left additional clues hidden elsewhere, perhaps within his letters to Morrises, or in the way the pamphlet itself was written. Every punctuation mark, every misplaced comma has been analyzed as a potential clue. What makes the Beale ciphers so haunting is that they blur the line between history and legend. The story contains names, dates, and locations that check out, yet there is no record of Thomas Beale's existence in census or military archives. Was he a real man or a creation of someone's imagination? If the treasure was never real, why did so many credible people swear by its existence? The area around Bedford still holds an eerie allure. Visitors often say they feel an inexplicable sense of mystery, as if the land itself is guarding its secret. Some even believe that those who get too close to finding the treasure face bad luck or worse. The Beale ciphers have become a symbol of America's obsession with hidden wealth and unsolved codes. They remind us that the frontier was not only about exploration of land, but also of human curiosity. Every line of numbers, every failed attempt to break the code only deepens the enigma. And while the vault may lie buried somewhere beneath the rolling hills of Virginia, what it truly guards might be something far greater than gold, the eternal hunger to uncover what has been deliberately concealed. Beneath the blazing sun of the Arizona desert stands a jagged, haunting range known as the Superstition Mountains, a place whispered to hold both unimaginable riches and unspeakable danger. For more than a century, people have ventured into those canyons chasing the promise of gold, and many of them have never returned. Some call it a cursed land, others believe it's sacred ground guarded by ancient spirits. But all agree on one thing: somewhere in those mountains lies the Lost Dutchman's Mine, one of America's greatest and deadliest treasure legends. The story begins in the mid-1800s, when gold fever swept through the American West. Prospectors from around the world flooded into Arizona territory, desperate to strike it rich. Among them was a mysterious man known as Jacob Waltz, a German immigrant, though locals nicknamed him the Dutchman, a common term at the time for anyone of German descent. Waltz was quiet, secretive, and often seen wandering the rugged Superstition Mountains alone. He was rumored to have discovered a gold mine of astonishing purity, a source of gold so rich that one man claimed he saw Waltz pull out chunks of pure gold the size of potatoes. But Jacob Waltz never revealed where his mine was. He kept his secret to the grave, leaving behind only a handful of cryptic clues and a legend that would consume treasure hunters for generations. According to the tales, before Waltz died in 1891, he confessed to a woman named Julia Thomas, telling her that he had hidden gold in the shadow of the Great Needle, a reference to the towering rock formation known as Weaver's Needle. He also warned her that the mine was cursed, that those who sought it would meet strange and violent ends. Julia Thomas tried to find the mine after his death using Waltz's scattered directions, but she never succeeded. Neither did the countless others who followed. Over the years, stories began to circulate about people disappearing in the mountains, about strange lights flickering at night, about screams echoing through the canyons when the desert wind was still. Native Apache legends added another layer to the mystery. They believed the Superstition Mountains were the gateway to the underworld, a sacred and forbidden place where spirits protected the earth's secrets. To disturb it was to invite death. Throughout the 20th century, explorers, adventurers, and dreamers all came seeking the lost Dutchman's mine. Some found tantalizing clues: an old Spanish trail carved into the rock, a skeleton clutching a pickaxe, maps etched into stone that seemed to lead deeper into the mountains. Others found nothing but endless sun, rattlesnakes, and mirages of gold that vanished with every step. In 1931, a prospector named Adolphe Ruth ventured into the Superstitions with a map he believed showed the mine's location. Weeks later, his headless body was found in the desert. His journal contained a chilling line: "Weni vidai wiki I came I saw. I conquered, and now I am dying." His death ignited talk of the mine's deadly curse. Since then, dozens more have perished in their search. Some were seasoned treasure hunters, others were amateurs drawn by the legend. Their bodies have been found under strange circumstances, collapsed beside unfinished camps, tools scattered, supplies untouched. Park rangers and search teams report strange occurrences in the Superstitions: sudden sandstorms that appear out of nowhere, compasses that stop working, and eerie noises at night that sound like whispering voices carried on the wind. Locals say the mountains claim those who get too close to the truth. Yet despite the danger, the legend refuses to die. Every year, new explorers arrive, armed with metal detectors, drones, and satellite maps, convinced they will be the ones to solve the riddle that has defied everyone before them. Some believe the mine isn't a mine at all, but an ancient cache left behind by Spanish conquistadors who hid their treasure deep within the mountains. Others think Jacob Waltz may have found gold from a vein exposed by erosion and never realized it was part of a much larger deposit that has long since been buried. A few even claim that the mine might be protected by something supernatural, a curse placed centuries ago to guard the Earth's riches from human greed. What makes the story of the Lost Dutchman's mine so haunting is that it sits at the crossroads of greed, mystery, and faith. It's not just about gold. It's about obsession, the kind that drives people to their limits and beyond. Maps, diaries, and cryptic carvings found in the area continue to fuel theories. One document allegedly drawn by an old Mexican soldier shows a labyrinth of tunnels and a red X marking the mine's heart. But every expedition that follows these leads ends the same way, in confusion, silence, or tragedy. Even today, the Superstition Mountains remain largely unexplored in certain areas, their rugged terrain swallowing secrets whole. The desert shifts with every season, erasing trails and clues as quickly as they appear. And though Jacob Waltz has been dead for over a century, his legend continues to cast a shadow over the land. Some say that on moonlit nights you can still see the flicker of a lantern deep in the canyons, a lone figure digging, endlessly searching, as if the spirit of the Dutchman himself is still guarding what he found. The mystery of the Lost Dutchman's mine endures because it's more than a tale of treasure. It's a mirror reflecting the timeless lure of the unknown, a reminder of how far people will go for a dream they can almost touch but never hold. and somewhere beneath the red rock and shifting sands of the Arizona desert the truth waits, glittering silent and as dangerous as the legend itself. In the barren desert of southern New Mexico, surrounded by endless dunes and rocky ridges, lies a place that has stirred controversy, greed, and government secrecy for more than 70 years. It's called Victoria Peak, a lonely mountain standing in the middle of the White Sands Missile Range, a restricted military zone closed to the public. But beneath that rugged peak, legend says, lies a fortune so immense it could alter history itself. Some say it's the largest buried treasure ever discovered in North America, billions of dollars worth of gold bars hidden away, found by chance, stolen by power, and silenced by those who knew too much. This is the story of the treasure of Victoria Peak, a mystery tangled in truth, deception, and secrecy. It all began in the late 1930s with a man named Milton Doc Noss, a cowboy, drifter, and self-styled doctor who roamed the New Mexico desert with his wife, Ova. One day, while hunting for water near Victoria Peak, Doc stumbled upon a small opening in the mountain. Curious, he began to explore. Crawling through narrow passages, he discovered a deep shaft that led into a hidden cavern. What he found inside would change his life forever and possibly doom him. According to Noss's own account, the cavern stretched deep into the mountain, lined with tunnels and chambers. Inside, he claimed to have found skeletons in armor, ancient artifacts, stacks of documents wrapped in oilcloth, and most shockingly, hundreds of gold bars neatly stacked like bricks. He said there were so many that it took him days to count them all. When he finally returned to the surface, he was shaken but ecstatic. He told Ova they had found a treasure beyond imagination, gold worth hundreds of millions, maybe more. But the discovery soon turned dark. Fearing bandits or claim jumpers, Doc tried to conceal the entrance to the cavern by sealing it with dynamite. The explosion, however, caused a cave-in, trapping the entrance permanently. He spent years trying to reopen it, digging, but blasting and searching for another way in. He even managed to retrieve a few gold bars as proof, showing them to locals and storing them secretly. But no one could verify his claim fully. Some believed him, others dismissed him as a fraud. Then, in 1949, the story took a tragic turn. Doc Noss was shot and killed by a man named Charlie Ryan during a dispute over access to the treasure. Noss died without ever revealing the full truth or the exact location of the cavern. After his death, his wife Ova continued the search, struggling for decades to prove that the treasure was real. She even took her story to the government, but no one listened. Things changed dramatically in the 1950s when the U.S. Army took control of the area around Victoria Peak to expand the White Sands Missile Range. The site was declared off-limits to civilians. For years, the Noss family was barred from returning, and rumors began to swirl that the government had secretly found and removed the gold. Witnesses claimed to have seen military trucks entering the area late at night, guarded by armed soldiers. Others reported that gold bars from Victoria Peak were quietly appearing in circulation, their markings consistent with old Spanish treasure. The government, of course, denied everything. In the 1970s, Ova Noss and her supporters fought for access to the mountain, and for a brief time, they were allowed to resume searching under military supervision. Crews excavated parts of the site, but according to official reports, they found nothing. Still, those who were there told a different story, that the Army cordoned off areas suddenly, removed equipment without explanation, and refused to let civilians dig in certain tunnels. It was as if something was being hidden right in plain sight. Over the years, new theories emerged about the true origin of the gold. Some historians argue it wasn't ancient treasure at all, but Nazi gold smuggled into the U.S. after World War II and hidden away by secret government programs. Others believe it was part of a lost shipment from Fort Knox, deliberately concealed to fund covert operations during the Cold War. There's even a theory that the gold was linked to the old Spanish Empire, buried centuries earlier by conquistadors or Catholic monks fleeing raids. Each version only adds more layers to the enigma. What makes the Victoria Peak mystery so chilling isn't just the treasure itself, but the silence surrounding it. Those who dig too deep, figuratively or literally, seem to vanish from the story. Files disappear, records go missing. Military personnel who once hinted at seeing something later retract their statements. The U.S. government insists there's nothing there, but continues to keep the area under strict control even decades later. Treasure hunters who attempt to sneak into the zone are arrested or turned back at gunpoint. And yet, the evidence refuses to fade away. Photographs of Doc Noss holding gold bars still exist. Maps he drew, detailing the tunnels beneath the mountain, continue to circulate among researchers. Even geologists who've studied the area acknowledge that the geology could easily conceal vast underground chambers. People who live near the region still whisper about strange nighttime activity, helicopters without lights, convoys moving through the desert, and armed guards patrolling an otherwise desolate landscape. The treasure of Victoria Peak stands as a testament to how truth and myth can intertwine until they are impossible to separate. Was it real gold, hidden and taken by those in power? Was Doc Noss an eccentric dreamer who mistook fool's gold for fortune? Or was the cavern sealed intentionally to hide something far greater than anyone imagined? No one knows for sure, but the silence from the desert and from the government itself speaks volumes. And somewhere under the sands of New Mexico, the mountain still watches over its secret, its shadow stretching longer with every passing year. Hidden in the forests and farmlands of America, carved into stones, etched into trees, and buried beneath layers of history, lies a mystery that blends politics, secrecy, and treasure. It is said that, after the Civil War, an underground brotherhood swore to keep the dream of the Confederacy alive, not through speeches or armies, but through gold. They were known as the Knights of the Golden Circle, and according to legend, they buried vast caches of treasure across the United States to fund a second Southern uprising. For over a century, treasure hunters and historians have chased this legend, searching for gold, documents, and secret symbols left behind by men who refused to surrender. But as with every secret society, what lies beneath the surface is far more complex and far more dangerous than anyone imagined. The story begins before the Civil War, in the 1850s, when the United States stood on the edge of division. The Knights of the Golden Circle, or KGC, were formed by a man named George W.L. Bickley, a doctor adventurer, and Southern nationalist who dreamed of expanding the Confederacy's power beyond American borders. His vision was bold, to create a vast empire of slaveholding territories stretching from the southern U.S. into Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, a golden circle of wealth and influence. The organization grew rapidly, attracting politicians, soldiers, and wealthy Southerners who saw the coming war as an opportunity to reshape the world in their image. When the Civil War broke out, the KGC allegedly went underground, transforming from a political movement into a secretive brotherhood with a single mission: to preserve the Confederate cause even if the South lost. They began gathering gold, silver, and weapons, hiding them in secret vaults and remote locations across the South and Midwest. According to legend, this network of hidden caches would be used to fund the resurrection of the Confederacy when the time was right. Some claim the gold came from sympathizers. Others say it was looted from Union banks, or even smuggled from Mexico through Confederate agents. After the war ended in defeat, the Knights supposedly vanished into the shadows, taking their treasures with them. But strange clues began to surface over the years: maps marked with mysterious symbols, carved rocks bearing coded messages, and rumors of men meeting in secret to guard hidden wealth. One story tells of a dying Confederate soldier in Arkansas who confessed to helping bury dozens of gold bars beneath a stone marked with a circle and cross. Another tells of a rancher in Texas who unearthed chests filled with Confederate coins and documents sealed in wax. And yet, every time someone gets close to the truth, the trail goes cold. Modern researchers have found patterns that suggest the KGC may have operated with military precision. Their treasure sites were said to be arranged in triangles, each point leading to the next, forming a map that could only be understood by those who knew the code. The organization's members used elaborate ciphers and symbols drawn from Freemasonry and Christian iconography. Arrows pointing to false landmarks, hearts and circles carved in stone, trees marked with strange letters that aligned with the setting sun. These clues have been found from Virginia to Arizona, always in remote, difficult terrain. One of the most famous alleged connections to the KGC involves Jesse James, the notorious outlaw. According to some historians and treasure hunters, James was not merely a bandit but a high-ranking member of the Knights, tasked with protecting or redistributing the buried gold. His robberies, they claim, were not acts of greed but missions to recover KGC funds hidden during the war. The theory goes even further, suggesting that James faked his death and lived out his life in secret, continuing his work for the Brotherhood. Though historians debate these claims, artifacts found near old James gang hideouts have shown markings consistent with KGC symbols. Over time, the legend of the Knights of the Golden Circle grew beyond its Civil War origins, taking on a life of its own. In the mid-20th century, treasure hunters began seriously searching for KGC caches, convinced the stories were real. In states like Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kentucky, they uncovered relics, rusty rifles, Confederate buttons, coded stone markers, but never the vast sums of gold the legends promised. Still, the consistency of the symbols and the secrecy surrounding them have kept the mystery alive. Some believe the treasure remains buried not for greed, but for loyalty. They say descendants of the original knights still exist, sworn to guard the gold until the day it is needed again. But others think the treasure may have already been found and quietly taken. There are reports of excavation sites suddenly sealed off, of government officials arriving unannounced, and of discovered caches disappearing overnight. A few researchers suggest that the gold may have been recovered long ago, possibly by intelligence agencies during the early 1900s, used to finance covert operations that would never be traced. It's a theory that ties together 2 centuries of secrecy, suggesting the KGC's influence may have stretched far beyond the Civil War. What gives the Knights of the Golden Circle legend its power is not just the lure of gold, but the sense of hidden history, the idea that beneath the surface of the American story lies another version of events, one written in secret symbols and buried treasure. Whether it's a myth or a hidden truth, it touches something deeply human, the belief that power never truly disappears. It only goes underground. Across the South, in forgotten woods and quiet towns, old trees still bear the carved emblems of circles and crosses. Hunters still follow faded maps, convinced that somewhere under their feet lies not just gold, but the last heartbeat of a lost nation that refused to die. Throughout our journey into the lost treasures of America, gold, secrets and hidden history, we've uncovered more than just tailies of gold coins and buried chests. We've stepped into the shadowy corridors of America's forgotten past, a world where ambition, betrayal, and mystery intertwine beneath the soil of the nation itself. From the sunken ships off the Florida coast to the vanished mines of the Southwest, from the cursed fortunes of Civil War, soldiers to the secret gold of the Knights of the Golden Circle, every story reveals a hidden thread in the fabric of American history. But perhaps the true treasure isn't the gold at all. Maybe it's the unanswered questions, the maps with no compass, the legends that refuse to fade. Each mystery reminds us that history isn't a finished story. It's a living puzzle, buried beneath time, waiting for someone brave enough to dig deeper. For every clue we uncover, new secrets emerge, whispering from the past, daring us to look again. These lost treasures symbolize more than wealth. They represent power, identity, and the human desire to control destiny itself. Whether guarded by secret societies, hidden by desperate men, or swallowed by nature, they embody the idea that some parts of history were never meant to be fully revealed. Yet, as long as curiosity burns, people will keep searching, not just for gold, but for truth. Because in the end, the real mystery isn't where the treasure lies. It's why it was hidden in the first place, and what those who buried it wanted us to never find.